We just had that announcement from BP. The concern that investors will probably have is that BP's, talking the talk. Do they walk the walk? Or are we going to see, like BlackRock, a pushback after everyone's saying, right, this is a new standard for the industry, and then, people saying actually they could do so much more?
Right. Well, given BP's size and its history, I think, they're not going to be able to keep everyone happy. If you sort of look at their announcement today, it is probably the most ambitious climate plan of all of the five major oil companies in the world. They are pledging to be carbon neutral, as you said, from their own operations by 2050. But if you look at, most importantly, what climate activists look at is what's called Scope 3 carbon emissions, which is the emissions that not only you produce as a company, but the emissions that your products will create as well. The language there is a little bit vague, and I think that's something that climate activists will be jumping on.
Part of your charm, John, running our green operation is you're as cynical as anyone I've ever met in Europe. So let's cut to the chase. BP has returned 1.12% per year for the last 10 years. Some would say net zero is their return to shareholders. What are they going to do to match all these well-intentioned efforts with the financials to the shareholders?
Well, if you look carefully at the statement, Tom, you will actually see that the CEO, there is a line in there about how he pledges to make sure that BP will stay on a sound financial footing. And this really sort of encapsulates the dilemma that the oil majors have. Yeah. On the one hand, do we stay doing what we're doing and producing oil and gas until it all runs out and draw the ire of climate activists and the rest of society, or do we try and diversify? So if you look at BP's statement here, they're kind of trying to do both. They are essentially signaling to the market that we will keep on paying that dividend, and we did see the shares rise as well. But they are trying to do a lot to diversify away from oil and gas as well. And that's the big question. That's the big dilemma they face. Just how radically and just how quickly will they diversify?
With good green intentions, great. What does the sell side say about revenue replacement? If they're running traditional hydrocarbons over 5 years and 10 years, do they replace the revenues or do they downsize as a company? Which is it?
Well, again, I mean, this is the dilemma that all of the oil majors face, and it looks like if you look at the statement today, they're trying to do both. They're not saying they're getting out of oil and gas forever. They're still very much committed to what they're doing, but they are talking a lot about trillions of dollars of investment are going to be needed as we rewire the entire global energy system. So clearly there is money to be made outside of oil and gas. Just look at the revolution that we're seeing in battery technology and solar and wind. But you're right, Tom. I mean, that is the question on every investor's lips right now. They can replace some of the revenue, but will they be able to replace all of it over the next 20, 30 years?